So whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Dad, stop playing with your toys. Come on, we gotta head to the studio and shoot the video.
It's not a toy, it's a collectible! Welcome back, everybody, GBE, and once again, we're on that road, we're on the countdown. You see the shirt? Well, Thor's missing, but anyway, you get the point. It's time for Countdown to Infinity War, and today we are talking about Thor. There will be spoilers, final warning, there you go. Thor is about to become the next king of Asgard. It's coronation day, but before Odin can pronounce him the next ruler, the ceremony is interrupted by a group of frost giants who are trying to steal away the casket of ancient winters. This provokes Thor into attacking Jotunheim with a small group of warriors. Now Asgard and Jotunheim are on the brink of war, and Odin banishes Thor to Earth because of his arrogance and what he is about to bring upon these two realms. So that's where we pick up with Thor on Earth. He's without his abilities, he's without Mjolnir, and he's just a mere human at this point. The plot really moves along for the first 30 minutes while we're on Asgard and Jotunheim. It's not till we get to Earth that it really screeches down to a halt, and it's not till the action sequences that the movie really picks up. Initially, I had no issues with the pacing, but on watching it years later after its first release, I could really tell that the movie slows down and it loses a little bit of steam towards the end. Clear standout as far as characters and performance goes has to go to Tom Hiddleston and his portrayal of Loki. He is outstanding. There's so many layers to this villain, and we get to peel it layer by layer, sort of like an onion, till we get to the bottom of it. It's not till the end where he reveals his full master plan to Thor on the Bifrost that it really gets a little silly and a little out of hand. But up to that point, he's one of the greater villains we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe even today. The second standout has to be Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He really brings some emotional depth, some emotional scenes, especially that scene at the shield base when he's trying to retrieve Mjolnir and he realizes that he's just a mere mortal, and that he's unworthy and he cannot retrieve his prized weapon. It really hits home with the emotional tones in that one. The real downside to the movie as far as character goes, it has to be Kat Dennings and her character. I believe her name is Darcy. She's supposed to be the comedy relief, but it often comes out as forced and corny, and it doesn't really work at all. The most impressive action sequence in this film has to be the battle in Jotunheim. The only problem with that is that that's the first action sequence in the movie. I feel like this movie really peaked early as far as action sequences go, and the battle between the Destroyer and Thor was a big letdown because it's just a few seconds long, and it's just Thor recovering his powers and hitting him with Mjolnir. Destroyer falls to the ground, and that's over. But that action sequence in Jotunheim is still one of the best in the MCU. From the landscape to the choreography, everything works even 6 or 7 years later after it's first released. The best thing about this movie easily has to be Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He's a villain that we had not seen in the MCU to date, and he's still one of the better villains in the MCU now. It's just so many layers. He's not your typical villain. There's a reason why he does the things he does. And another thing that's really impressive about this movie, like I said in the previous clip, is the Jotunheim action sequence. There is nothing in this film that really compares to it as far as action sequences go, and it's really a detriment that this scene came so early in the movie. As far as downside, I have to say the comedy doesn't really hold up. I remember initially watching this back in May of 2011, and I had no issues with the comedy, but watching it now, several years later, it really falls apart. It doesn't work, it's corny, and sometimes it feels a little out of place. The only other thing I didn't like about this movie has to be the pacing. It really comes to a screeching halt at times, especially when we get into Earth, and it makes you yearn for the moments that we spent back on Jotunheim and Asgard. So overall, this isn't the greatest film, it's not the worst. It falls somewhere after the second tier of MCU movies. Clearly there are better movies in this trilogy alone. There's better movies in the MCU. But then again, there is a movie that is worse also. So there you go, guys. That's my discussion. That's my talk on Thor. And we're continuing to count down Infinity War till we get to May. We got more videos coming up in this series. If you like it, make sure to comment, share, subscribe. How do you feel about this movie? Are you excited for the next movie in the series? Let us know down below. For now, this is GB saying